Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Ron's Amazing Stories, where we play tales to take you away from today. On the program today, we debut a brand new segment called Not So Important Times in History.
Is it good?
Yeah, I think it's good. We have 3 brand new stories from you guys. A bike ride through a cemetery has issues, a floating ghost, and Bigfoot are disappearing.
Of course they are.
Then we have a classic horror story and end the show with more old-time radio commercials.
Shall we get started?
I think that is an excellent idea.
And now, a new 2.5-minute mystery.
This 2.5-minute mystery is being brought to you by jury observations throughout history. In the 1950s, an illegal study was done by the University of Chicago. They covertly recorded the deliberation of juries to learn how the process really worked. The study concluded that dynamics differ from case to case. I could have told him that.
This court is now in session.
Lillian Perry was in court for killing her husband. She said she wasn't guilty and that she dearly missed him. Her lawyer gave a compelling closing argument, but he could see from the faces of the panel that he was about to lose the case. In a final attempt to sway them, he says, "And I submit her husband was just missing. Everyone, please look at the doors. He's going to walk through them in about 30 seconds. The entire jury turns their heads and stares at the door, waiting for Lillian's husband to walk through. The lawyer and Lillian simply stare at the jury. He concludes by saying, "See, if you were so sure that she had killed her husband, you wouldn't be watching that door." The jury went into their deliberations and came back immediately with a guilty verdict, more convinced than ever that Lillian was guilty. Do you know why?
In just a minute, we'll have our solution. But first, a message from our sponsor.
Do you enjoy these 2.5-minute mysteries? Please let me know. Also, if you have one to share, I'd love to hear it. Go to ronsamazingstories.com and click on the Contact tab. And now, here is our solution. Did you figure it out? It's simple when you think about it. Lily was watching the jury and not the doors because she knew her husband wasn't going to walk through them. Why? Because she had killed him. If she had really missed him like she said, wouldn't she have been watching those doors as well? Something to think about. This 2.5-minute mystery was brought to you by jury observations throughout history. Some of the greatest historical events and entertainment has come from the courtroom. Why not some of the greatest mysteries as well? I received this email from Erica Glover, who lives in Tampa, Florida. Hello, Ron. I was listening to episode number 417. Sorry, I'm a bit behind. Anyway, I was freaked out by the story The Red Room by H.G. Wells. First, I never knew that he wrote horror, and second, I was amazed by how much it bothered me. At one point, I had to stop it and take a breath before I could continue. I've never had this experience from any of the other stories you've had on the show. I told my husband about it and got him to listen to the story. He thought it was a okay story, but it didn't bother him. First question, has anyone else said anything to you? And second, what do you think about this? Erica. Well, Erica, I don't know what to think. You're the only person that has commented on this story. I think my brother may have said that he thought it was creepy, but nothing else. I do know that at times some of the listeners' stories bother or affect people. They have that emotional element or are just downright scary. The pulp mag tales are generally tame by comparison. H.G. Wells was inspired to write The Red Room after reading selected works by H.P. Lovecraft. And if you've ever read any of Lovecraft's work, you know how creepy he got at times. I have one other thought on this, and that is perhaps you may have experienced something in your life, repressed it, and this story brought some of that experience back to light. I really don't know, and I am sorry that the story brought you some discomfort, but it was written by one heck of a good author. Do you listen to Spotify? Did you know that Ron's Amazing Stories can be heard on the Spotify mobile app? It's true, and I need your help. If you use Spotify, will you help the show out and follow us? Just search for Ron's Amazing Stories and click on that follow button. Do you have some friends that maybe use the app? Tell them about the show and maybe they will follow us too. Thank you for listening no matter how you do it. I really do appreciate it. Time is running out to get your scary ghost stories in for the show on April 16th with Alton Chung. The deadline is April 9th. And now, this word from Audible. Today's podcast is being brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, computer, Kindle, whatever you have, you can listen to Audible on it. So what am I listening to right now? Last week, I told you about The Fellowship of the Ring, Book 1 in the Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. This week, we're going to look at Book 2, The Two Towers. Most everyone has seen the famous movies, but have you heard the whole story? Of course, reading the book is always an option, but who has time to read it all? You probably have time to listen to it, and here is your chance to have it for free. Inspired by The Hobbit, Tolkien began writing The Lord of the Rings in 1937. When he created the trilogy, he considered Samwise Gamgee to be the true hero of The Lord of the Rings. Can you imagine that? I'm not sure I can. In Book 2, the Fellowship has been forced to split up. Frodo and Sam must continue alone towards Mount Doom, where the One Ring must be destroyed. Meanwhile, at Helm's Deep and Isengard, the first great battles of the War of the Ring are taking shape. Here is a brief excerpt from the book. We join the narrator, Robin Glacis, as he tells of Aragorn and his encounter with the wounded Boromir.
Aragorn sped on up the hill. Every now and again he bent to the ground. Hobbits go light, and their footprints are not easy, even for a ranger to read. But not far from the top a spring crossed the path, and in the wet earth he saw what he was seeking. I read the signs aright, he said to himself. Frodo ran to the hilltop. I wonder what he saw there. But he returned by the same way, and went down the hill again. Aragorn hesitated. He desired to go to the high seat himself, hoping to see there something that would guide him in his perplexities. But time was pressing. Suddenly he leapt forward, and ran to the summit, across the great flagstones, and up the steps. Then, sitting in the high seat, he looked out, but the sun seemed darkened, and the world dim and remote. He turned from the north, back again to the north, and saw nothing save the distant hills, unless it were that far away he could see again a great bird, like an eagle high in the air, descending slowly in wide circles down towards the earth. Even as he gazed, his quick ears caught sounds in the woodlands below. On the west side of the river, he stiffened. There were cries, and among them, to his horror, he could distinguish the harsh voices of orcs. Then suddenly, with a deep-throated call, a great horn blew, and the blasts of it smote the hills and echoed in the hollows, rising in a mighty shout above the roaring of the falls. "The horn of Boromir!" he cried. "He is in need!" He sprang down the steps and away, leaping down the path. Alas, an ill fate is on me this day, and all that I do goes amiss. Where is Sam? As he ran, the cries came louder, but fainter now, and desperately the horn was blowing. Fierce and shrill rose the yells of the orcs, and suddenly the horn call ceased. Aragorn raced down the last slope, but before he could reach the hill's foot, the sounds died away, and as he turned to the left and ran towards them, they retreated, until at last he could hear them no more. Drawing his bright sword and crying, "Elendil! Elendil!" he crashed through the trees. A mile, maybe, from Path Garlan, in a little glade not far from the lake, he found Boromir. He was sitting with his back to a great tree, as if he was resting. But Aragorn saw that he was pierced with many black-feathered arrows. His sword was still in his hand, but it was broken near the hilt. His horn, cloven in two, was at his side. Many orcs lay slain, piled all about him and at his feet. Aragorn knelt beside him. Boromir opened his eyes and strove to speak. At last slow words came. "I tried to take the ring from Frodo," he said. "I'm sorry. I have paid." His glance strayed to his fallen enemies. 20 at least lay there. "They have gone, the halflings. The orcs have taken them. I think they are not dead. Orcs bound them." He paused, and his eyes closed wearily. After a moment he spoke again. "Farewell, Aragorn. Go to Minas Tirith and save my people. I've failed." "No," said Aragorn, taking his hand and kissing his brow. "You have conquered. Few have gained such a victory. Be at peace. Minas Tirith shall not fall." Boromir smiled. "Which way did they go? Was Frodo there?" said Aragorn, but Boromir did not speak again. "Alas," said Aragorn, "thus passes the heir of Denethor, Lord of the Tower of God. This is a bitter end. Now the company is all in ruin. It is I that have failed. Vain was Gandalf's trust in me. What shall I do now? Boromir has laid it on me to go to Minas Tirith, and my heart desires it. But where are the ring and the bearer? How shall I find them and save the quest from disaster?"
Do you want to hear more? In this splendid, unabridged audio production, all the inhabitants of Middle-earth come colorfully into life. Rob Iglesias' narration has been praised as a masterpiece of audio, and I have to say I quite agree. You can have the Fellowship of the Rings for free. Here is what Audible has set up for us. Audible is offering a free audiobook and 30 days to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories, and you can have Lord of the Rings for free today. Thank you, Audible. And now it's time for your stories.
These are your stories, sent by you, for you.
Our first story this time comes from a graveyard in Seminole, Pennsylvania. It was sent in by Robert Little. I have titled this one, Day Ghosts at the Cemetery. Hello, Ron. I heard you asking for ghost stories, and I have quite a few. I don't know what it is about me, but ghosts and strangeness seems to follow me wherever I go. I ride my bike a lot. I normally don't ride through graveyards, but I'd heard that there was one close to home that was haunted by the ghosts of little children. I decided to check it out. Like I said, I was riding my bike through the graveyard along a little road that cut through it. It was a hot summer day. I had an ice-cold bottle of water in my hand. The bottle slipped and I tried to catch it. Of course, I lost control of my bicycle and tumbled into the grass. As my bike crashed down, I heard the laughing of children. I assumed some kids were there and saw me fall down. They continued to laugh as I stood up and wiped off the grass and dirt. As I gathered my bike and belongings, I looked towards where the sounds were coming from. All I could see was a round bush with one skinny tree trunk. That was where the sounds were coming from, but under the bush were no feet. I got up and walked around and searched for the laughing children. There was no one behind that bush, and no one else in the graveyard. From where I stood, I could see for hundreds of yards all around me, and the closest living person was on the other side of the graveyard, looking down at a gravestone. I walked over to him and asked if he had heard the children. He looked up to me and vanished before my very eyes. I've not been back to that graveyard ever since. People who say that ghosts only come out at night are very wrong, and I can tell you for sure that the Whitesburg Presbyterian Cemetery is, in fact, haunted. Thank you for your show, and thank you for sharing my story. Robert Little, Seminole, Pennsylvania. Robert, that is a crazy story. I've always contended that the paranormal should never be limited to night. My own shadow story took place in broad daylight, so I agree with you 100%. There are a lot of reasons to hunt ghosts at night. The world quiets down as the day fades away. Some locations only let you enter after the close of daytime business hours. Also, it's much creepier at night. Thank you for your story, Robert. Our second story was sent in by Grub81. Sorry, that's all I got. I have titled this story, Mr. Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Hey Ron, I'll make this as short as possible. I know you're looking for ghost stories. Here's my one and only one. I had the chicken pox in the 3rd grade. My mom was fine with me staying up and watching TV since I'd be missing school for a week or so. One night, about 2 a.m, I was watching Andy Griffith. I hear a slight moan come from the hall. I look up, and a woman passes by my doorway. It was not my mother, and she, didn't really walk. She floated almost gracefully. She had long white hair, and my mother's hair was dark brown. Her lower jaw was gaping open, and she had 2 dark voids where her eyes should have been. Oh, and no feet. No feet at all. I ran to my parents' room and slept on their floor for the rest of the night. It frightened me at the time and still gives me a chill when I think of it to this day. I know what I saw, and it was proof enough to me that spirits are around. Grub 81. Well, Grub, I have no explanation for what you saw, and I can guess what everyone around you told you at the time. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Our last story comes from Bram, Ireland. That's his name, not where he lives. Bram lives in Kentucky, but didn't leave which city. Here is his story that he has titled, I Saw It, and Then It Just Vanished. Me, being 12 or 14 at the time and still loving the woods and marshy area that we lived in. That is until I was utterly confused by what I saw. So, our house borders an old Indian reservation. They're gone now. Not sure why, but you get the gist. Me and my brothers, being kids, we loved to explore, building forts, and playing war in the woods. Stuff like that was always fun. While in the middle of moving some large branches to build a makeshift fort, I and him are distracted by some movement about 40 feet away. My brother points and says, "Look." It's not what I see that confuses, but how it all played out. I see a hairy brown figure, roughly 8 feet tall, moving pretty fast, like a casual jog. This got me stuck in my tracks, and I couldn't move. As I watched it, it suddenly looped around a tree and just vanished into thin air behind the tree. After that, me and him run over to the tree, looking up, looking down, looking around. There's no place it could have possibly gone, but it was gone. To date, family and friends don't believe us. But what I want to know is, Ron, what do you think? Bram, Ireland. What do I think? Well, Bram, it sounds like a Bigfoot encounter to me. So many theories surround the big guy, and so many different types of tales out there, it's hard to track down just what he is. I do know that recent lore suggests that Bigfoot is a magical beast capable of moving in and out of dimensions. Others suggest that he is an alien creature with abilities that we just can't comprehend. Me, I still like to think that Bigfoot is nothing more than an elusive humanoid creature. Thank you for your story, Bram. It's a pretty good one. Do you have a story that you want to tell on the show? If you do, we want to hear it. It can be about any subject and from any genre. Heck, it doesn't even have to be true. Original fiction or stories from the public domain are quite welcome. To submit them, head to ronsamazingstories.com and click on the story submission banner. Fill out the form, and soon your story will be heard on the show. Do you have a story but don't want to write it? That's okay too. Just leave your contact information, a brief description of your story, and I'll get back to you. We can write it together. However, if you don't do it, your story remains just that, your story. Why not share it with the world and make it our story?
Not so important times in history.
In this segment, we take a look at historical events that may otherwise go unnoticed. We look at history with a fish-eyed lens, giving a perspective that should provide no insight to anyone or any time. But it is historical, or hysterical, as the case may be. Join us now for this event in history. Do you remember the date Tuesday, February 13th, 1962? It may not ring any bells unless you live in Cincinnati, Ohio, and you love you some fish. The Filet-O-Fish sandwich might be one of the last things you think of when it comes to a fast food restaurant. However, McDonald's, who is famous for its burgers, fries, and McNuggets, has it on the menu. But there is a valid reason why the fried fish sandwich is there, and it won't be going away anytime soon. To learn about the Filet-O-Fish's place on the menu, we need to turn our attention to Lou Groen. He had been kicked out of his home at age 17 and had spent decades working odd jobs before his big break. His work in the restaurant business introduced him to Ray Kroc. Ray launched McDonald's as a powerhouse corporation, in so doing offered Groen his own franchise. Groen opened the doors to Cincinnati, Ohio's first McDonald's in 1959. Business seemed promising, but there was one major hurdle for Groen. For most restaurants, weekends, starting Friday nights, bring the biggest profits. But in 1962, his McDonald's was in an area that was 87% Catholic, in a time when most Catholics wouldn't eat meat on Fridays. That meant that sales actually plummeted at what should have been their busiest time. Groen needed to draw customers in somehow, and he noticed that other restaurants seemed to crack the Friday code with novelty food items. But what could he do? It was then he learned that while Catholics would not eat meat, somehow fish was okay. He introduced the idea of a fried halibut sandwich with tartar sauce to Kroc, who scoffed at it. Kroc had his own idea, a meatless hula burger of pineapple and cheese on a bun. Doesn't sound very good to me either. Kroc agreed to put both the halibut and the hula sandwich on the menu for one Friday to see which sold more. About 350 fish sandwiches were sold on that fateful day, and though Kroc wouldn't reveal how many customers bought his hula burger, he did admit that Groen had won the bet. With that, the hula burger kicked the McBucket and became the inaugural item on a long list of embarrassing McDonald's menu flops. Groen was allowed to move forward with his fish idea. However, Kroc wanted to bring the price down to 25 cents. Considering the fact that each halibut sandwich cost 30 cents to make, the two men had to revise the recipe using cod, because it was a cheaper fish, and adding a slice of cheese for flavor. It might not have been as good as his halibut version, but the customers weren't complaining. Friday business revived the franchise, and Groen's restaurant was saved. The Filet-O-Fish recipe has taken new turns since the 1960s, now using sustainable Alaskan pollock, but it seems to be a permanent item on the McDonald's menu as the only pescatarian-friendly option. I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Not So Important Times in History. It was brought to you by Gladys Goodies, great treats for your dog to eat. Now, Gladys Goodies has just introduced their newest treat. Little Bits liver sticks are a great source of vitamins for your pet. These treats are great for cats and dogs alike. They are made from 100% beef liver. Liver is a nutrient-rich organ that most pets love eating. You can get these treats and some really cool swag for your dog or cat at GladysGoodies.com. And don't forget to use our promo code RONS to get a 20% discount on all of your purchases. That website again is GladysGoodies.com. Our featured story this week comes from one of the earliest horror series of the golden age of radio. Lights Out ran from 1934 to 1947. It was created, directed, and mostly written by Wyllis Cooper and Arch Oboler. What we'll hear today is one of Arch's stories called The Meteor Man. And if this one doesn't creep you out, you just might be uncreepable. It first aired on December 22nd, 1942.
Ionized Yeast presents
Lights Out. Everybody.
It is later than you think.
Lights Out brings you stories of the supernatural and the supernormal, dramatizing the fantasies and the mysteries of the unknown. We tell you this frankly, so if you wish to avoid the excitement and tension of these imaginative plays, we urge you, calmly but sincerely, to turn off your radio now.
My name, Arch Oboler. Tonight, a story I enjoyed writing for you because, well, frightening as the thought may be, it could happen.
And furthermore, I might speak frankly, my dear Diane, the basic thing wrong with woman is her nose. Let's cut it off.
Russell Adams.
Then there's the matter of her ears. Look at them.
Well?
They're too obvious. Cut them off, too.
No nose, no ears. Oh, a fine art critic you turned out to be.
Oh, is this thing odd?
Russ Adams, I hate you. I think it's the best piece of sculpture I've ever done.
Egomaniac.
Oh, will you go away?
Not until I tell my wife how much I adore her. How about stopping the artistic endeavors for the night and romancing with the old man?
Any night.
Come on. Out on the veranda. There's a moon.
Spoken as Professor Russell J. Adams, instructor of astronomy at our beloved university.
I don't know a single scientific fact about this moon. It's a special satellite built entirely for romance.
Then it's a date.
After you, fair Diane? Why do you laugh?
Just thinking it's a good thing we haven't any neighbors, or they'd think we were honeymooning.
10 years and 2 more weeks.
Sweet.
Why?
For remembering.
Why the sigh?
Oh, it's such a lovely night.
Yes. You're very lovely with the moonlight in your hair.
Darling.
335 days out of the year, moonlight to me is just a reflected light of the sun. A light interesting only that it may be analyzed spectroscopically. But these 30 days of our vacation, Diane, oh, what a magical change. It's a soft lover's moon hanging in the heavens only to brighten your loveliness.
Oh, and people wonder why I can't get excited about Ronald Coleman.
Coleman? Who's he?
Spoken like a true professor. He's a motion picture star. An absolute paragon of romance.
Oh, well, perhaps I shouldn't neglect my movie-going. Oh, so much I mean, with such paragons to teach one.
You do all right. Oh, Russell.
What's the matter?
I saw the brightest shooting star.
Is that all? The way you gasp, I thought you saw the angel of death himself galloping over those meadows.
There's another one. Look, Russell.
My dear, for 11 months out of the year, the heavens have my full and undivided attention. Oh, but during this blessed month, let the heavens fall, I can't be bothered.
I never saw such bright shooting stars.
Yes, and another thing, my dear. As the wife of an accredited professor of astronomy, I think it no more than fitting that you give the phenomena that you observed its proper name, namely the fall of a meteor.
There's another one. And another. Oh, Russ, how bright and beautiful.
They travel at such a tremendous rate, the friction of our atmosphere burns them into a fiery vapor.
There's more of them. Look, one after the other. I've never seen so many shooting stars. I mean so many meteors in all my life. Oh, so that's why you wanted me out here. You knew about this meteor shower, didn't you?
It's one of heaven's free spectacles in this constellation. Every 3 years, and this happens to be the 3rd year.
How frightening.
Why frightening?
Those great masses of stone and iron. coming from who knows where in interstellar space, traveling millions and millions of miles, and then going up in such glorious flame just as they reach the end of their journey.
Not all goes to flame. Hundreds of them strike the Earth each year.
Well, Russell, there's no danger.
Oh, no. The probabilities of being struck on the head by that cosmic rubbish is about 1,000 times more remote than winning a sweepstake without buying a ticket.
Well, look. That one. The brightest of all.
Wait, Diane. What's that?
I don't know. Something from
Look
the
up.
sky. It's shooting star.
Look out, Diane!
Right.
All right, dear. Everything's all right.
What? How?
A meteor. Must have landed out in the field there. Here, let me help you. You all right, dearest?
Yes, I'm all right. Russ, where are you going?
Out there. Where it must have buried itself. Wait here. I'll be right back.
No, I'm going with you.
All right, if you want to. Oh, Diane, what an experience we've had. The one chance in a million I spoke about almost occurred to us.
But Russ, was it really a shooting star? That explosion like a bombshell?
A bombshell of the universe.
What will we find out there?
A fragment of the meteorite, I
But
hope.
it'll burn.
No. All of its heat will have been dissipated. Then again, it may have exploded into 1,000 minute pieces. I pray to heaven that it hasn't.
I'm afraid.
No. The danger's all over. Here. The moon's so bright. If any of the mass landed, I should be able to find the torn ground where it smashed through the turf.
Oh, please, darling, let's wait until morning.
No, I must find the thing at once. The moon gives plenty of light. From the brightness of the flash, I'm positive that the meteor landed someplace right in here. I'll tell you. Look.
What?
The turf, all torn up. This is the place.
Russell, are you mad? Get up off the ground.
Right here. It must have struck a glancing blow off the brow of the ridge. I've got it.
What?
A fragment of it. Still warm. See? No larger than a baseball. All that was left of it.
That's a meteor.
A meteorite. All that's left of the meteor that burned and exploded. What a find.
Drop it, Russ.
What are you talking
Throw
about?
it away.
Here, come back to the house, please.
What are you going to do with it?
Diane, what's the matter with you? Your face.
I don't know. Somehow I'm afraid for all of us.
Afraid? Good heavens, my dear. There's nothing dangerous about this. A mass metal that's 90% iron. Why, it's as harmless as any inert piece of metal. Come to the study. I'll show you where the rush of air against the incandescent...
Russ, wait.
Huh?
Someone's crying.
Yes.
I'll go and see. It's Helga. Oh, Helga, you poor thing. We forgot all about you.
Oh, Mrs. Adams, it was exploding.
Now, everything's all right, Helga.
What's going on, Diane?
Oh, poor Helga. The explosion frightened her out of her wit.
Oh, Mr. Professor Adams, we die. We all die.
Don't be a
the
fool.
fire, it come from the sky. It kill us. It kill you and me and everybody. We die. Everybody die.
Stop it. For heaven's sake, stop that. Take care of it, Diane. Give her a sedative or something.
All right, Russell. All right now, Helga. Everything's all right.
I'm going to get at this meteorite, so please quiet the dumb fool down as quickly as you can.
Right.
Superstitious idiot. Simple phenomena, and she thinks the world's ending. Simple little meteorite. Iron, a bit of nickel content. Nothing particularly unusual. Oh, Diane, quiet her down, will you?
Yes. She'll be all right.
You look a little rocky yourself. Here, sit here.
She's very frightened.
Yeah, and even you, Diane.
Well,
You've acted so strangely, as if this inert piece of cosmic metal could cause some supernatural ability.
what are you going to do with it?
Nothing. Examine it. Here, I'll take some of this nitric acid. Where's that bottle? Yeah. Now watch closely, and I'll show you that the stone consists of ordinary elements. Iron.
Russell.
What?
This mark on it. How strange.
Yeah. Funny I hadn't noticed it before.
Circles the entire stone.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised that a blow right here would break it in half. Yes, I think I'll try to do that.
No, Russ. Leave it alone.
Good heavens, Diane. Nothing but a stone. All I'm going to do is try and break it along this fissure. If you had a hammer on this here. I wonder if the stone break. Almost solid metal. I'll try. By George, it did. Clean in half. What?
Look. What's inside?
Flesh.
Oh, Russ, how
Negative gray protoplasmic. No, it can't be. It can't. This is a meteor. It came from out there. There is no flesh. Nothing could live.
Russ, look.
Huh?
It's growing.
Growing?
Ladies and gentlemen, a shooting star flashes out of the sky and falls to Earth. And in it something living from out of interstellar space. Yes, if this is the time to take a breath before going on with tonight's Lights Out play, the story of Professor Adams and his wife and the thing from out beyond our world, a meteorite had fallen, and Professor Adams had broken it open, and there was a gray nugget of flesh inside, which, even as the professor and his wife stood watching, began to grow.
Faster and faster. Gray flesh. Growing. Russ, I'm afraid.
No, Diane, no. Wait, control yourself. This is something we've got to see, both of us, calmly, so we can tell others clearly what we saw.
I'll try. Russ, keep your arm around me.
Larger and larger. Listen, the noise as it grows.
I hear it. When will it stop? When?
Look.
I can't. That horrible gray flesh.
But you must see it. Look. It's forming into something.
What?
A head. It's forming into a head.
Oh!
How can it be, Diane? Flesh in a meteor growing into a head.
I see it. A head. Horrible head.
Diane, you heard.
Yes.
A head without body speaking.
Yes, speaking.
Russell.
You hear and understand me?
Laughing.
I laugh at the fear and wonder in your simple little faces.
Who are you? What are you?
If I told you, would your little earth minds understand?
Tell us, whatever you are. Tell us what you are.
What you on earth will soon have for masters.
No, wait, Diane. I must know. You thing... what can I call you? Tell me what you mean, you... masters.
Surely you simple little men do not think that in you creation has reached the ultimate.
Oh. Gray flesh talking. I'm getting out.
You will stay.
Russ, I can't move.
Nor I.
You cannot move.
Who are you? Tell us, who are you?
You saw how I came.
A tiny bit of protoplasm in that meteorite?
So I willed myself to be, to reach your earth.
You came here in that? Through space?
Through space beyond your furthest conception, earth thing. Many of my people have tried. I am the first to succeed.
Then meteors are
the means we have used to try and reach this haven of plenty. I am the first. Now there will be others.
You're from another planet?
An old world. Old beyond your understanding. A world grown cold in its age. Empty with passing years. We must escape to a young, fertile world. This world.
But you're only heads. Heads without bodies.
Oh, Russ, I'm so afraid.
No, please. I must hear him speak. This that is happening to us is a miracle of all times. Tell me, you there, Are you only heads in that world you speak of?
Heads. You see what I will you to see.
But what are you?
A mind and a will beyond your feeble understanding. As far above you as you are above the apes that still must crawl in your jungle.
But how can it be that you speak as I speak and understand what I say?
Your prattling wearies me, but I tell you this. All that you say, I know. The most profound thought any of you earth things have ever thought is to me as the babbling of children. But now I am hungry. You understand that little thing.
Hungry?
Hungry?
Hungry with a hunger that has driven me over space without ending. Hunger that has brought me here.
But what do you eat?
You will know.
What do you mean?
What food could there be here to fill the hunger of such as I? Hunger that would make me entomb myself in metal, flung into space in a hope that chance would bring me through the fire of that air of yours. What food? A thing.
I don't know. Tell me.
Come closer. A thing.
Oh, no.
And why, oh, no, a thing.
You don't... Human?
Human. You think you crawling worms are human to us.
But if you're man...
But we are not men. You are the cattle, and we are the keepers.
Oh.
You raise the cattle for life, and we for centuries have raised such as you on our world for life. But now, as I told you, our world has grown too old and too cold. The herds of you die, and we grow hungry. That is why I am here. We need new cattle. Here there are so many of you. Earth woman.
Russell, it spoke to me.
We've got to get out of here.
Earth woman.
No. Stop it. Don't look at me. Stop it.
Come
No.
closer.
Don't listen to him, Diane.
Closer.
No. Don't move, Diane. Stay where you are. Stay right there.
You hear only me, Earth woman.
Only you.
No, Diane. No. Don't say that. Don't look at that monster, Diane.
Closer, Diane.
Yes.
No.
Closer.
No, Diane. Stand still. Don't move toward it. Don't.
Closer,
No.
Diane.
Closer.
Monster. Not Diane. Diane, I beg of you. Don't go closer to it.
Closer.
No.
Closer.
I'll kill you. If I could only get to you.
Soon you will move to me as she is. Closer.
Diane. If I could move.
Closer.
Diane. I've got to find the way. The strength to stop him. Diane, you're almost... That bottle. Nitric acid. The bottle. Got it.
Yes. Yes, close to you, monster. Take this. Pool of flesh. Flesh. That's all. Diane, wake up. Open your eyes. I've killed the thing. I killed it.
Oh.
Diane, it's all right.
Right.
I've killed it.
Oh.
Diane, look. Outside it's still dark. Yes, the sky's still streaked with the rush of meteorites. And that thing said more of the monsters of his breed are trying to reach this earth. To feel that devil's hunger in him. Another meteorite is just there. And in it, perhaps... Oh, Diane. Diane. Is that truly to be in for mankind?
Mr. Oboler, will the end of the world come that way?
Well, Frank, if you mean will the end for mankind come out of interstellar space in the form of a flying meteor, well, there are some mighty interesting theories along that line. The amazing thing about it, Frank, is that there are so many logical and thoroughly possible ways in which the entire tribe of mankind could be wiped off the earth at any moment. I'm not talking about famine or what's close to all of us, war. I mean other ways. A star moves into our darkness from somewhere out there in the blackness of interstellar space, and the pull of its presence might turn our spinning globe headlong into the sun. In a split second, all of mankind, all his buildings, his wonderful possessions, his precious little pile, would go up in a flash of fire. Or, out of the sun itself, the very source of our life, as we all know, could shoot a long stream of explosive flame that would curl around us and again, well, so quickly that no man would know what had happened. In split seconds, this earth would be a charred, uninhabited spheroid. Yes, when one stops to think what a tiny little grain of sand this haughty world of ours actually is in the dark sea of space, and when one realizes how precarious little mankind's hold is on this earth, the spectacle of man's inhumanity to man becomes a cosmic joke.
Well, all of those things are certainly interesting to think about, Mr. Oboler, but tell us now what's going to happen next week.
Next week, ball's trees. No, that's not a dance. It's a story of chance. That unpredictable chance that makes one man a saint and the next man a Hitler. The flip of a coin, the turn of a card, the bend of a road. I think you'll like what we have to offer you, but as usual, next week.
Lights Out will come to you again next Tuesday at this same time. Be sure to listen to Arch Oboler's weird story of Valse Triste.
Did that voice creep you out? How about the concept of a meteor carrying malevolent life to Earth? I remember having a dream as a kid about creatures riding bolts of lightning to the Earth. Each time we would have a storm, I was reminded of that dream, and I would be scared all over again. Every year, the Earth is hit by 6,100 meteors large enough to reach the ground, or about 17 per day. The vast majority fall unnoticed in uninhabited areas. But several times a year, a few land in places that catch more attention. Imagine that these rocks are carrying things that are intent on taking over the Earth. It truly is a scary thought. If you're curious about the series Lights Out and want to hear more stories like this one, you can go to the Internet Archive where 83 of the Lights Out episodes can still be found for free. Time now for some old-time radio commercials brought to you by Gladys Goodies. Good treats for your dog to eat. Men, have you ever used hair products? The Wild Root Company of Buffalo, New York, originally trademarked its Wild Root Hair Tonic in 1920. The product was marketed mainly to women to buy for their husbands. Early advertising claimed the hair tonic would cure dandruff, prevent balding, and produce thick, lustrous hair. It's still sold today, but now it's a cream and has no such claims other than it will keep your hair in place. How about that?
Get Wild Root Cream Oil, Charlie. It keeps your hair in trim. You see, it's non-alcoholic, Charlie. It's made with pseudolanolin. You better get Wild Root Cream Oil, Charlie. Start using it today. You'll find that you will have a tough time, Charlie. Keeping all those gals away. Hiya, Baldy. Get a bottle right away. Your druggist has it. A little goes a long, long way. You hear it screaming. Keeps you looking neat all day.
Do you like your beer? Well, one of the early beers was Lucky Lager. This American beer was created and distributed by the Pabst Brewing Company. It originally launched in 1934 by the San Francisco-based General Brewing Company. It grew to be one of the prominent beers of the West during the 1950s and 1960s.
Lucky beer, premium beer, Lucky premium beer. Go lively, get lucky, swing to exciting beer flavor.
Finest ingredients, aged for flavor. That's Lucky Lager, flavor that's entertaining, enthusiastic, a very exciting beer.
Lucky beer, premium beer, Lucky premium beer.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that little trip into the past. I know I did. Well, that's another podcast, and its number was 427. This time I want to thank Erica Glover, Robert Little, Grub81, and Bram Ireland for their contributions. If you want to follow the podcast or the blog, just head to ronsamazingstories.com. There you will find an amazing number of links that should fit every need. Do you want to help the show? The best thing you can do is to tell your friends all about it, and please leave reviews or feedback wherever you listen. This is what makes podcasts grow. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's amazing stories.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.